Rich Lowry, the editor of the National Review, is here on KCMO 95.7 FM, streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. And Rich had a guest essay in the New York Times. Oh, my goodness. And it was headlined, Trump Can Win on Character. Rich, good morning. Thanks for being on KCMO. The media says that's impossible.
Thanks for having me.
So how does he do it?
By the way, we've talked about the Chiefs over the years. Are people out there excited about the Royals?
Oh, you know what? I'll tell you right now, my producer's got his Royals hat on. He's got his Royals shirt on. 106 losses last year, Rich. They're going to be in the postseason.
Yeah, it's great. And if it weren't for Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, I'm a Yankee fan, Bobby Witt would be a lock for the MVP.
That is absolutely right. And hey, you know what? Maybe if those Yanks get knocked out, you'll be an adopted Royals fan like you are a Chiefs fan, right?
I've always had a soft spot for the Royals. I love the rivalry back in the late 70s, early 80s, and I love the uniforms. So I kind of admire the franchise.
Well, George Brett's still right here in town, and he still is leaning the right way, shall we say.
Yeah, and I love George Brett's swing, one of the greatest swings in the history of baseball. So so this New York Times essay, my belief is that when Trump says, I need to be personal against her, and everyone else is like, no, it needs to be about the issues. They're both right. It needs to be done the right way, and it needs to be very strategic. The presidential elections are always, in some sense, character elections. Mitt Romney, fine guy, right? But the Obama team wins against him in 2012 because they run a character case. Yeah, they hit him on policy, but all the policy goes to the point, this guy is an out-of-touch plutocrat who doesn't care about Americans. That's a deeply personal case, and it disqualified him, and that's how it works. And they need to do the same thing against Kamala, where all the flip-flopping and all the policy and not doing media interviews and all that needs to come back to the point. She's weak and she's phony and she doesn't really care, so she's not suited for this office. That's the case that I think can really cut against her.
So who needs this debate more coming up in 2 weeks, Trump or Kamala?
Trump. I don't think it's even a close question. I think if they could get away with it, they wouldn't do the Kamala would not do the debate, right? They want her entirely on script. There's risk to this because she's not going to be on script. She's going to be pressured, obviously, by Trump. So, but I don't think they can get away from running away from the debate. I think they'd like an open mic. I think an open mic helps her because then she'd make the whole debate about, oh, you're interrupting me,
yes,
and you're mansplaining and all the rest of it. So the Trump team, I think, understands that. Even if Trump himself said yesterday he wants an open mic, I think the rules will stay the same and the debate will happen, is my guess.
So you think that if Trump holds firm saying, I'm not letting you change the rules, they will keep the rules as is, which means there will be muted mics, which worked out very well for Donald Trump. See, I think, Rich, that Trump should stand his ground because I don't trust Trump without a muted mic because we saw what happened in that Chris Wallace debate back in 2020. I want that mic muted for Trump, but I also think he should stand firm and not budge on these rules.
Totally agree with all that. If you look at Biden, what destroyed him in that debate was really the first 10 minutes, and especially that line when he's searching for the word, the phrase, or the thought, and came up with, look, we finally beat Medicare. And it was at the end of a rambling, pause-filled answer where Trump, the open mic, surely would have jumped in, right, and interrupted him before he got to the killer moment where he killed himself. And if he does anything like what he did in the first debate in 2020, that also hurt Trump, right? Just interrupting constantly. So he should. I think basically sticking with the rules is very easy. We've already agreed to these, and that's why I think he'll prevail on that, or his team will.
So even though you think Trump needs it more than she does, and even though you think she doesn't really want to do a debate, you think that she's going to have to come around and stick with the rules as they currently are because of what? We know the media is not going to pressure her, just she knows or thinks it's the right thing to do. Why is she going to cave?
Because she would have to walk away. Because if Trump just says, no, these are the rules, I'd be surprised if ABC wants to accommodate her and change the rules. It just makes for a better debate as well, not having the mics open. So she'd have to say, I'm leaving unless you accommodate me. Really brinksmanship. I'm not doing the debate. And I just think, given that there's a question, right, whether she can do anything that's not scripted, I think that would actually hurt her. So could be wrong, but my guess is, again, the debate happens with the current rules.
With the current rules. And the whole sitting thing, is that just she doesn't want to – listen, optics matter in these things. Trump's big. He's 6'2", 6'3". She's 5'4". Is it really just optics that she wants to sit?
They deny that she wants to sit. I understand why Biden wanted to sit. I don't see why she wouldn't want to stand. She's perfectly capable of standing for 90 minutes. This she can do, Pete.
Yeah.
That's the one upside. The one thing they've gotten from the switch, and they've actually gotten a lot more from the switch, but there's no question that she can stand there. And they're not really close enough for the height thing to play, I don't think. The way it did in the Republican debates in 2016, it definitely did. They're all kind of bunched together, and you had this one guy's like a foot taller and oranger and bigger and more vigorous than everyone else.
Yes.
That really helped Trump.
It did in a big way. There's no doubt about it. So with the 2 months left, I mean, what do you think the RFK thing does for Trump, if anything, from last week? Now Tulsi Gabbard's in the mix. Does this actually play, or is this more of just social media fodder?
It's more magnified in social media than it is in reality. But, I think the RFK help, and I think he helps Trump, it's microscopic. It's probably like a fraction of a point. Mm-hmm. But if you get 2,000 votes in Pennsylvania or Michigan that you wouldn't have had otherwise, that's worth having. Those states could be decided by 5,000 votes. Who knows? So every little bit counts. I think RFK is probably being played a little bit. I doubt he's going to have a major role in the Trump administration. He'll end up heading some commission and mostly being ignored. But if you're Trump, given the alternative, do you want him on your side or not? You definitely want him on your side.
Yeah. And then what is the messaging for Trump? I mean, it ties back to what you wrote about in the New York Times. Trump can win on character, but how does he balance the character with the policy, where the policy focus is, and what that looks like the next 65 days?
Yeah, again, they're not mutually exclusive. You say, she didn't fix the border because she didn't care enough, right? The party line mattered to her more because she's too weak to stand up and speak the truth. So you make all the policy points, but you bring it back in that way to her suitability for the office. Is he going to do this? I don't know. I think he will end up doing a version of this because I think it's the only way he wins, and I think there are a lot of people around him that realize something like this makes sense. But he definitely needs to be more focused than he is now.
And the Corey Lewandowski angle, he's back in the mix. I know you are big fans of the advisors he's using right now from the DeSantis camp, but what's that mean for the campaign?
Well, I don't know. I was a fan of the folks he had. He's a little disenchanted. I mean, he said it publicly. I don't think it's because they've done anything wrong. I think it's just Biden was a much easier race. And if Trump loses in November, which is possible, his debate victory against Biden will be the most catastrophic success in the history of American politics. And one person who was predicting this at the time, Steve Moore, a great economist and commentator, he was saying, don't debate Biden before the convention, right? Debate him in October, which turns out to have been very good advice. If he hadn't debated Biden, Biden would still be the nominee. They'd still all be insisting he's hale and hearty and ready to lead us for another 4 years.
Wow, that's an excellent point. And Steve Moore's a great guy. He's on this show all the time, so I didn't realize he made that prediction. I'll have to ask him about it next time.
He did.
Well, here he is, adopted potential Royals fan, depending on how his Yankees do, Rich Lowry. And I know he's going to be pulling for the Chiefs against the Ravens next Thursday, which will be the most watched TV broadcast in America until the debate the following week. So, Rich, we love having you on. Thanks for being here.
All right, thanks, Steve.
All right, good work there with Rich Lowry on KCMO Talk Radio.